and take a break for those who want to leave at midpoint, and then we'll resume our business meeting. Our business meeting is participated by members and associate members. I think you will understand that. At the beginning of the number, we will choose numbers from the hat, which we have, and who's going first? And second will be Janet. Okay, each candidate will speak for 3 minutes with no interruption or side comments from candidates or the audience. Once each candidate has presented their statement, we will open the floor to questions, and I will be reading every question on these cards. Joe Bronsky is the moderator. Excuse me, I'm the moderator. Joe, what's your draw? Can I get a bottle of water? And these waters are for anybody else who shares my parched mouth.
Oh, and
Not my personal parched mouth.
candidates, you guys are all good with water? Okay, perfect.
So I think we should start by the candidates giving their 3-minute talk, and then after that we'll have questions. If the questions are specific to an individual candidate, they'll have 2 minutes. If it's general questions, they'll have 1 minute. And I have asked the candidates to think of this as a job interview. Some of you in the room probably don't know a state committee woman from a
Hole in the wall?
yeah. So it's their opportunity to not only let you know what a state committee woman is, but how they will do the job. Okay, so number one, this is Lynn Santangelo.
Yes.
All right.
Good evening,
Push the
everyone.
button.
You want to let me know? Good?
Yep, you're good.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. My name is Lynn Santangelo. I'm running for the Republican State Committee in First and Plymouth and Norfolk District. A little bit about me. I grew up in Braintree. I moved to Weymouth in 2016. I currently work at a software startup out of California, so I get to work from home most of the time, except when I have to go to California, which is not a pleasant place to visit, if anyone's been to Oakland lately. I hold a master's in business from Curry College, and I'm also a notary public and a globally accredited project management professional. Aside from politics, I'm a passionate animal lover. I have 3 pets at home, and I also volunteer for the Situate Animal Shelter on Sundays, and I serve on the advisory board of the Quincy Salvation Army. Following President Biden's inauguration in 2020 and the continued decline of our country's fundamental values, I felt really disheartened and defeated. And instead of sitting back on the sidelines, I wanted to do something about it. So I got involved in various committees. About 2 years ago, I joined the Norfolk County Republican Committee, and I'm currently the vice chair. And then I also joined the Weymouth Republican Town Committee over a year ago, and now I serve as the treasurer on this board. And then last year on March 1st, 2023, I announced my candidacy for Republican State Committee. Despite my brief experience in politics, I've worked really hard the last year to establish a presence, to get involved with the RTCs. I wanted to connect with people, and I wanted to actively participate in this district and outside of the district. Within this district, I have attended countless RTC meetings, but also gotten involved in some of the fundraising efforts for the committees. So I was happy to attend the Duxbury RTC celebration for Flag Day that they conduct every year. I helped plan and execute the Marshfield RTC Veterans Breakfast that was held in the fall. I also helped them design their logo and their holiday party invitation for their December event. I hosted a debate watch party for our Weymouth committee, and I also helped build a website for our RTC. It's weymouthrepublicans.com. Hopefully you've all been able to check it out. And I also volunteered for some efforts for Hingham for their July 4th parade and their holiday party, although neither took place. I want to make sure that I'm extending myself to the RTCs to help people out. Additionally, I've been in attendance for all the state committee meetings since I announced last year, and I am planning on going to Thursday's event. So I guess you could say I've been doing some on-the-job training for the role. So we all know it's hard to be a Republican in Massachusetts. We see it every day, but I remain optimistic that unity, determination, and strategic efforts can lead to success. My decision to run is driven by a deep love for our country. I'm proud to be an American, and I believe we need a two-party balanced system in Massachusetts, and I sincerely believe in the Constitution. As a state committee woman, I will focus on strengthening our local town committees. I'm done.
That started ringing to my watch too. I'm like, all right.
Minutes?
Yeah, usually I get that done in 3 minutes. Yeah.
You sure you're, okay.
long
we're
3
trusting
minutes.
Joe.
Oh, I'm good.
Okay.
All right. Ready?
Sure.
Okay, perfect.
Good evening, everyone. I am Janet Fogarty, and I am the current state committee woman of this district and national committee woman for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, elected by the 80-member state committee body to represent the Commonwealth. I've served in this role for 12 years now. That's 3 terms. I'm running for my 4th term. And the reason why I'm running is because where we've been as a party for the past 4 years, basically we got blasted back to the Stone Age as the Republican Party in Massachusetts under the previous leadership of the party. And we not only lost people that were running for office, those seats, but we also lost incumbent seats as well. So we have a lot to do, a lot of rebuilding to do. And there are many state committee members who are not running for re-election. In fact, this is the first time there's been such a huge amount not running. So the new committee elected on March 5th will be inexperienced and not many veterans. So that's one of the reasons why I'm running. I'm also running to support our new chairwoman, Amy Cannavale. I'm the only one in this race who is solidly in support of her. She's been doing a phenomenal job with the hand she was dealt. You've probably heard about it in the media, and all of it's true. Unfortunately, I wish it wasn't, but it is all true, the state of the party finances. And when she got elected last January, the very next day, all these bills, unpaid debts flooded in, and we went, basically had like $642,000 in debt, potential debt. So a lot of lawsuits, we've worked through a lot of it. I, along with the National Committee man and Amy, Chair Cannavale, have worked tirelessly this whole past year to dig out, and we've also raised about $800 grand. So we're actually in a good position. We won a Senate seat, so we actually picked up, now we have 10%, so there's 40 Senate districts, and we now have 4 with Senator Peter Durant's race. That was partly with the involvement of the RNC, of which I had a direct role in, of bringing resources from the National Committee to the state party. And through the RNC, we've been able to get resources to keep the lights on in our offices as well. And I have to tell you, that's not easy to do because, as you can imagine, Massachusetts is not high on the priority of all the states around the country when we're in a presidential election year. So, and of course, my counterpart, Ron Kaufman, had a lot to do with that. So as much as, I mean, these 2 ladies, Kristen, who can't be here, they're wonderful. They do a lot of, they're very talented with their technology experiences. So, all right, I can finish.
All right. Real quick, how long for the,
Well, the questions in general, a minute, unless it's
Okay.
geared specifically to an individual candidate, where it would be 2 minutes.
okay.
And Steve, would you like to go first with your question, your verbal question? Steve Ford?
If you finished with the back and forth, it sounds to me like it just got started. Okay, I will.
It was just the opening statement.
All right.
And the way we're going to do it is, since Lynn went first with the statement, Janet will go first with the first answer.
Okay.
We'll rotate.
So here's my question. There are 29 members of the WRTC, and in the list that the WRTC submitted to the Secretary of State to be on the ballot for March 5th, my perusal indicates that 12 of the members were removed and 3 people who were not previously members of the WRTC were added. All of this was done without input from the WRTC or from the members who were removed. My question, Lynn, is what was your involvement in that process?
So my involvement in that process, I've shared before. I did not have anything to do with the slate. It was not part of my role as treasurer. It was agreed upon. We had an executive meeting that Joe and Joe were going to work on this together. They then made a decision that Joe Fleming was going to lead the efforts because he had done it previously. I've shared before that I have a strong moral and ethical compass, and I would never exclude anyone on this committee from being on that slate. I've said it multiple times, and I stand by that. I did not have anything to do with keeping anyone off the slate.
it was addressed, okay.
Was your question specifically addressed to Lynn, Steve?
It was addressed to Lynn Santangelo.
Yes.
Okay.
Fine. So the first question on a card, which then we'll go back to start with Janet since you didn't get the chance to go first. And so this is a question for both of you. What does unity mean in your own words, and how will you bring it to the party? Let's start with Janet.
Okay, so unity is a number of things, but in our party, our, dwindling Republican Party, as we continue to lose members to unenrolled, as well as, citizens leaving the state for various reasons. The smaller we get, the more we're very much like an extended family, I think of it as. And we squabble, we fight, but at the end of the day, we all come together. We have to come together. And there are a lot of personalities, a lot of chiefs, and not enough Indians. And, so to me, we're all volunteers. None of us get paid to do what we do. And we do it, I know in my case, I do it because I figure if I'm going to complain about what's going on, I'm going to do whatever I can in my way to try to change it. And that's what we all have to do daily. And if we do that and support our candidates, no matter what the outcome is, then we will unify, like the Democrats are great at doing. We need to get to be like that.
All right, thank you. Anyone who can, when a few seconds over, we'll give you the ability to do the same if needed.
Did you start?
What is it, 1 minute?
You have 1 minute per question. If it's directed at you specifically, it's 2 minutes. All right, you ready?
Yep.
All right.
So unity to me, when I think of unity, is, united we stand, divided we fall. We've seen the Republican Party in disarray, not only in the state, but also across the country. And I think a lot of people, we all, as Republicans, stand by core values. Now, some people may be, moderate, hard right, but we're all Republicans, and we need to start acting like it. Seeing candidates that, we shouldn't be attacking each other. We should be lifting each other up. And it doesn't matter if, we're running against each other or we see candidates in, other districts. We all need to be supporting each other. And I think that if we start to do that, then we'll see some success in the party. But unfortunately, I've seen some folks, even being a new candidate, people have attacked me left and right, but I've maintained my respect and my integrity that I don't attack people. So, and I will continue to do that.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right.
So the next question starts with Lynn. It says, I understand that several town committees in our district do not meet regularly. What would each of you do to help these RTCs become functional?
So for the 8 districts, I do know that there are 3 that don't meet regularly. And to understand that, I'd like to meet with the chairs and the executive committee and ask how I can support them. Maybe it's better understanding how to shift their schedules to make it work. Maybe they don't have a meeting place where they can find out where they can congregate. And also ensuring that, they have the resources they need, whether it's help preparing agendas, maybe they need some guest speakers. So I think it's really just understanding, why they're not meeting to begin with, and then working with them to devise a plan on how we can get them to meet the 4 meetings that are required for them to be held each year by the bylaws.
Thank you, Lynn. All right.
Okay, so that question is actually misleading. It's not accurate. All of the town committees in this, it's 8 town committees in this district, and in fact, this district is the most active district in the entire state. Our committees pretty much meet monthly, and I even tell them, don't meet just for the sake of meeting, meet for a purpose. Otherwise, you're just going to make the members tired and they're not going to show up anymore. But there are a couple of town committees that, for various reasons, one chair being ill, didn't meet for a while, coming out of COVID was another issue. Some of them meet by Zoom. And one of them that's referenced as not having met in a while actually is the leading town committee for registering poll workers, outside of Weymouth, of course. But and that town committee chair has the most effective relationship with the town clerk in the town. So I think that statement, that question is completely inaccurate.
So there seemed to be a challenge to something Lynn said about them several not meeting 4 times a year. So I'm a little curious, what supports your belief that some are not meeting 4 times a year?
When I announced my campaign on March 1st last year, I did reach out to all the chairs to get an introductory meeting. And there are some chairs that unfortunately, had told me they weren't meeting at this time. I would continue to reach out. So from my perspective, even talking to some members in some of the other towns have told me that they haven't had an official meeting. For instance, Norwell told me they haven't had an official meeting since February of 2022. That's not from my mouth, that's from their mouth. I attended one hall meeting, they didn't have quorum. And then Situate, I've never attended a meeting, either not invited or maybe they just weren't being held. But that's just what I know from my experience from the last year.
I can say that Norwell met in November of 2023. In fact, Representative Dave DeCoste, the state committee man of the district, is from Norwell, and he was at that meeting, and I think you might have been there as well.
I was there, yeah.
So
Quorum wasn't called, the agenda wasn't revealed. Actually, we didn't even go around the room and introduce ourselves.
So-
Nobody even spoke,
Yeah,
so.
so I think, I as moderator, think there's some work to be done by whoever is the state committee woman to support some of the.
What is she saying?
It's just my opinion. So question starts with Janet, I think. The Mass State Committee represents the Republican Party, and per the bylaws will help establish policy. In our very blue state, how will you influence our state legislature as a member at the state committee, and how will you represent your constituents at the RTC level? Starting with Jen.
So, okay, the role of state committee is an operational role. It is not a legislative role. The elected officials, the state reps, state senators, mayor, they are the legislative role. So state committee works to support those candidates or elected officials, and works with the town committees to make sure that they're organized and to make sure that the town committees are reaching out to their communities, identifying potential candidates for local offices such as school committees, select board, state rep, and we're fortunate to have our state senator here, so we're not looking for a state senator, but that's what the state committee role is about. It's not that the state committee person is responsible for doing that all. The town committees are responsible for doing that, but the state committee provides support in that regard. As far as for, I'm not sure if I
Yeah, I think
answered
that
all
was-
that.
yeah.
Okay.
I'll give you another 2 seconds.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
I
So the
know
end
there
of the
was a loaded
question was,
question.
the end of the question had to do with representing the constituents at the RTC level. And I think that may have duplicated something else you said, unless you want to
I
add
think so.
something.
No, I think so.
Okay, so there's a.
Yeah, can you repeat? I thought it was something about policy. It was a long question.
So, Mass State Committee represents the Republican Party, and for the bylaws will help establish policy. In a very blue state, how will you influence state legislature? Janet answered that. And then how will you represent your constituents at the RTC level?
Marie, do you want to join this debate or what?
She's trying to read that.
No,
No,
so
I
there's
asked
gotta-
to repeat
there's
the
no-
question.
There's no interruption from the audience.
If that's a question, I can't hear it here.
Okay.
I'll speak louder, Steve, thank you. I repeated the question for Lynn's, at Lynn's request. Anything else I can help you with, Steve?
I didn't hear any part of the question.
The Mass State Committee represents the Republican Party, and per the bylaws will help establish policy. In a very blue state, how will you influence our state legislature? How will you represent your constituents at the RTC level?
I think the only way we can influence our state legislature is, working with our state reps, working with individuals who actually have a voice on Beacon Hill. And I think taking the voices from this room, from the other 7 RTCs, bring that to state committee meetings if there is discussion on it. I think also informing constituents of what's going on out there, what different bills are out there, what different things that they need to know about so that they can actually, form an opinion and be informed about these things. And then certainly just educating people and informing them as much as possible.
So at this point, I'm about to read the last question. If anybody else, now that there's been a conversation, you've learned a little bit from the representatives, if anybody has a question at this point, Joe would be happy to give you an index card and a pencil. Anybody want an additional question?
I would.
Okay, so I'll save you to the next question after I read the last written question. Anybody want to write a question? Okay. So, this is the last written question. As state committee women, what actions would you take to help RTCs, locally and statewide, understand and carry out their legal authority? And I think we start with Lynn.
So to help RTCs understand their legal authority, I think there's a lot out there that's not only in the state committee bylaws, but also in a lot of the mass general laws. And I think we've learned a lot with, Paul becoming a registrar and other things that the RTCs actually have the power to do. So I think just taking the time to make sure that all the chairs and the executive committees know that the powers that the RTCs have and keeping them informed of those things. And then also, working with our registrars regularly, making sure we have the representation. And I think it's just keeping people educated on things that they don't know. Because I've learned a lot. I've seen just attending the Duxbury meeting last week. They just had some registrar training, so I think it's important that people just know what resources are available and the things that RTCs are able to learn.
Yes, Janet?
I think I know who wrote that question.
Well, it's a paraphrase of the question I gave them, the Hingham. I shortened it up.
Okay.
Okay, so Massachusetts law requires that town committees, whether Republican town committee or Democrat town committee, abides by the law with respect to having registrars to represent the voters of each party at elections. So, that's a very important function. And a lot of people don't know, and you can Google it, I won't use up my time talking about it, that the National Party for 40 years was under a consent decree from losing a lawsuit from the Democrat National Committee and could not get involved in any election operations at all until 2018, when the judge finally died and it was lifted. So since then, the National Party has been laser focused, especially since 2020, on election integrity, and RTCs have heard me talk about in your committees, you have to develop an election integrity subcommittee, and that's the legal part. But the state party has our own bylaws, and which is specific to the party of what RTCs are supposed to do as far as grow the membership and recruit candidates to run for office.
Thank you. So Steve indicated, Steve, would you like to ask your question?
Yes, and I have to ask the question a little differently for each candidate. So first for Lynn, everybody in the party is behind Janet Fogarty, have endorsed Janet Fogarty, and she's been in the position she's in now for quite a while and is quite experienced. Why do you think people should switch from Janet to you? And to Janet Fogarty, the flip side of that question, why do you think that people should not switch from you to Lynn?
Me first, Steve? So you made a comment that everyone in the party is endorsing Janet, so that is false. I have quite a list of endorsements on my website from people in the district and outside of the district, so your statement is incorrect. Secondly, I think we need new voices and we need new blood in the party. A lot of people have been in the seats for a really long time. Unfortunately, the Republican Party hasn't been doing so well, and I'm tired of seeing us lose, and I'm not going to sit back and do nothing. Janet mentioned earlier, we want change, we all got to do it together. And I think it would be nice that the party has some new voices and some new blood. That's my answer.
Janet, thank you. And Lynn, thank you, Janet.
Okay, well, so, I'm trying to remember the question. What's the question?
What was the question, Steve?
Steve? For Janet?
So,
Oh, why should I be running for?
well, it's not quite why you're running, it's a question of why should people support you as opposed to supporting Lynn for the position of committee chair. And you can also respond to Lynn's comment about who's endorsing you and who's endorsing her.
Sure, okay, so that's an easy one. I'm proud to say I have the endorsement of pretty much every elected official in the district and outside the district across the state, and including the current state committee man and our state rep, Dave DeCoste, and our Mayor Hedlund, and DA Tim Cruz, Sheriff McDonald. On my card, you'll see a list of them. You can go to my website too to see them as well. And the reason why is because as they would tell you as candidates, one of the hardest things is running and raising money and staying elected. And what I've done for many of our candidates is primarily made sure that they had the funds in their coffers to try to deter anyone from running against them, those that were elected, keeping them elected. And then new time candidates coming out, I always tell them, you're in it to win it, but you might have to run 2 or 3 times. And a lot of times they don't run because it takes a lot out of you running. But, candidates, and we have to start running electable candidates, candidates that have skin in the game, candidates that have their own resources, their own campaign teams. They can draw on town committees, but town committees are not a candidate's campaign. They're a resource. And town committees, have to be very involved in helping candidates as well. So, as I mentioned before, we are the strongest district in the entire Commonwealth. We have the most elected officials. We have the most active town committees. We have 100% registrars. But if you go around the state in the 40 Senate districts, unfortunately that is not the case. And most state committee people don't even attend their town committee meetings. I try to get to as many as I can, but 8 in a month is often not feasible. So, I get to as many as I can, but I'm accessible to the town committees, and I work hard. So I would love to see someone else step into the role. I really want that, and I was hoping that for this election cycle, but unfortunately, because of the state of our party and the chair needing my help, that's why I'm running for re-election, and that's why I feel that I should be elected to continue helping the party. And I hope that I'll earn your vote.
Excellent. Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Lynn. Last call for written questions. And since Kristen wasn't here, again, I'll repeat that she has 2 handouts over there, so you can read her endorsements, and you can read her visions, and have access to her website for additional information. So I'll turn it over to you for what are our next steps at this point, Joe?
Why don't we hear a closing statement from each candidate? Just we'll just make it a minute for that one. If too long, let me get in here and reset the clock.
We want to switch?
Yeah, we'll switch. We'll let Janet go first on this one.
Okay, well, thank you all for coming. How many people here are from Weymouth, if you could show your hands? Okay, great. And how many are from outside the district, the 8-town district?
Or are they, is that a clear question? Are you name the 8 towns so that they're clear?
Okay.
We're in the
Yeah,
district.
right.
Norwell, Hingham.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so you've got voters here.
Yes, right. So, okay, again, thank you so much for coming. We are at a real crossroads in the party, and as I mentioned before, but things are turning around. It has been a real doom and gloom situation, unfortunately, and but things are starting to turn a corner. I've never seen anything what we've been through in this past 4 years, basically, and we have to really make sure that we are supportive of our chair. And the reason why there are so many state committee races right now is because the former chair does want to get back in and is hoping that he'll be able to in April, if he picks up a majority of And there'd be a lot of people elected that have absolutely zero experience, that have never even served on a town committee. The rightful path is you serve on a town committee, you become chair of a town committee, and you run for state committee. Makes the most sense. And that, you know, sometimes if you're not a chair, but you've worked on a town committee, and you understand how the structure is, you know who the players are, you know who the elected officials are. It shouldn't be a contested type of seat. It's a Republican, and we're a Republican running against a Republican. It's not a Republican against a Democrat. And, you know, it should be more of a succession type of process rather than a contentious election, especially in a district that's as active as ours and has done as well as we have. And many will tell you I am the hardest working state committee member of the entire 80-member body. It's not something I talk about much because I keep my head down and I do the work on a national level and a state level and a local level. But it is true. And, you know, Lynn's been to some of the meetings. Some of you have been, Joe, to a state committee meeting. I encourage you all to come and see what it's all about. And I hope that I can earn your vote on March 5th.
Thank you, Janet. Linda, because Janet went over by about 30 seconds. I'm going to set it to a minute and 30. Just to give you the fair amount of time on it.
So I think it's time, and it's critical that we elect smart, honest, hardworking, American first grassroots candidates for state committee people. And it's no news that I'm the new kid on the block. I'm newer to the Republican community, but I'm not intimidated by what I don't know. It poses an opportunity for me to continue to learn, be unique, and do things differently. And everyone's been a beginner once. I've already stated this, but I'm committed to leading with integrity, keeping my promises, and being accessible to my district and beyond, fostering unity and collaboration throughout Massachusetts. I'm ready to give it my all, and I hope to earn your vote, either early voting at the end of this week or March 5th. So thank you for your time tonight.
All right. So, Maria, do you want to give the conclusion?
Okay, so what we were thinking of, though I want to recognize something that someone that I'm delighted to step into the room, our mayor. So, I'm sorry, if you have a last minute question, I would make an exception as moderator. If you have something you want to ask our potential state.
Or Mayor Headland, would you like to come down and introduce and say a little something to the group for the?
I'll be very brief. I'm just in between picking up my son up the street at the rink, so. I'm having flashbacks listening to this debate. It made me think of my first run for office way back, and
That was a close one.
I was challenging an incumbent originally. And most of the party leaders felt I was like a sacrificial lamb stepping up to run against Bill Golden when I got in the race. Then he announced he was retiring. We had a competitive primary. We had a three-way primary. And I had, I think, one or two town committee chairmen with me. All the others were with a more notable candidate. All the Republican state representatives endorsed a different candidate in that race over me. 3 former governors endorsed the other candidate over me. And on election night, we thought we lost by 1 vote. We ended up winning by 3. We had a recount. We won by 39. So I'm listening to some of the rhetoric about incumbents and the new kid on the block, and it made me think about those races. But the one thing that made a huge difference for me was, and the state committee woman didn't support me in that race. But one of the things that happened after I won Janet's predecessor. But once the recount was settled in that race, we did come together because we knew we had a shot at winning that Senate seat. It was a good year for Republicans. We picked up a number of seats in the Senate that year. But the whole idea of unity and coming together, I don't see that happening as much in our party right now. It seems like there's a division. I'm watching the presidential race. I think it's a foregone conclusion that Trump's going to be a nominee, but I don't like seeing people attacking Nikki Haley for being in the race. I think having a competitive primary was always helpful to us. That year in 1990 when I got elected, having a competitive primary was hugely helpful to me because we had media coverage in our primary as opposed to just being ignored and waiting for the general election and then having a matter of just weeks to conduct a race. One little, I think Joe said it was close. One thing that happened to me was I was nervous when we had the recount, thinking that it was gonna cost time and resources to get through the recount to take on the Democrat nominee that year, who happened to be Bob Ambler from Weymouth, who was Vice Chairman of Ways and Means in the House, trying to move up to the Senate. And it ended up being a godsend having the recount, because the headline every night in the Patriot Ledger for 10 days was an update on the recount, and my name recognition went from about 12% up to about 80% overnight. So again, that competitive primary was a good thing. And having a competitive primary like this, and even in a state committee race, I think it's a good thing. It brings people in, as long as when the results are in, we come together. Because, I used to say you can't splinter a splinter, right? Right now, we're a splinter. Janet, correctly noted that we're losing voter registration. It's declining, both parties. So we're so small that I think it's important to be unified when these races are over. I'm very frustrated to see how divisive things are right now, not only just state committee, but nationally, and hopefully we can move past that and elect a Republican president and make some gains in the legislature. Janet mentioned the Peter Durant seat that we picked up. I think that is can foretell, I think, some other gains that we can make. Certainly we have issues on our side. We've got a lot of things working against us, obviously, the media, voter registration, but a lot of issues are on our side, I think, in the upcoming races, so hopefully we can capitalize on those. And thank you for your dedication, and you guys are for all being here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you,
All
Mr.
right.
Mayor. And before we go to our recess real quick, we'll just have Dave DeCoste, you want to come down and just introduce yourself to our committee here?
Most of you, you've met me on the state committee.
We have a lot of visitors today.
All right, well, in that case, my name's Dave DeCoste. I am the state committeeman from this district, the GOP 8, which I think most of you figured out corresponds to each Senate seat. So this is all the people that basically fall into the seat now represented by Senator O'Connor. I'm also the state representative for 2/3 of Norwell, all of Rockland, all of Hanover, and the northwestern part of Hanson, Precinct 1. That was your introduction. I'll stay back afterwards. I would say that I appreciate everyone coming here. As regards to Norwell, I was at the front of the table. We did our quorum call. We did the one thing that was on the agenda. We closed and we had Chinese food. It's very simple. And that's
Would you like
about.
to see our agenda, Dave?
I trust you. The agenda's all over the table. I personally printed them out. They were there. We got 4 or 5 more people signed up, as a matter of fact, and since then we've actually canvassed another 4 or 5 younger mothers, which is good because it changes up a little bit of what we've been doing, and motivated primarily by the vaccine issues and some of the craziness going on in the legislature. So although I am by some measures the most conservative member of the legislature, and philosophically I'm very close to Senator Hedlund. Excuse me, still in my mind, Mayor Hedlund.
We get to keep the title under mass tradition.
There you go.
Representatives don't, but senators do.
There you go.
We can still address you.
There you go. Either way, I've always been able to work closely with the more conservative and more moderate size, and I think where we are, we have built a good consensus, and what we are focusing on right now within our district is getting signatures for all of our candidates, to include the nonpartisan officers, where I have members of the Republican town committee running for a number of seats. We have 2 out of 5 selectmen, and we have a libertarian, so we effectively control the board, and a number of other throughout the district. In Hanson, we have almost run the table. Even the Democrats are conservative. And Hanover's doing pretty good. Rockland's doing even better. So I think that, where we are in the Plymouth 5th, my representative seat, we're doing well. I hear we're doing fine. Janet is, in my estimation, one of the most active people I know, not just among state committee women, but among Republicans in the district. And she is always there to help coordinate, to help raise money, to help function, to gel and send support from the party down here when we need it. And I can tell you, since it's got me going, this state was collapsing, and it was collapsing in large part because of the people who formerly ran the party. I don't want those people, and it's not, more conservative, less conservative, because I have more conservative bona fides than any of them. Absolutely any of them, bar none. I, like Senator Headland, go right back to the days of knocking on doors for Harvey Nelson, and Ronald Reagan, as a matter of fact. So I don't see anything conservative, but this isn't about more or less conservative, it's about more or less capable. You've got more capable and less capable. I know Janet will vote for the more capable, and that's the type of people that win elections. And I will say that, we have all behind Janet, the ones who won the elections are behind her, and that's why I support
To be aware
her.
that we have two candidates in the room.
And I salute Lynn for stepping up. She's got a great deal of data capability. I've seen it firsthand. But I think right now, the status quo, we are on an upswing. And that's why I came here to support Janet. I'll stay by if anyone has any questions about anything. Thank you.
That's good, Dave. If you'd like to, you're more than welcome. We're gonna go into a brief recess shortly, but you're more than, anyone too here is more than welcome to, who's not on the committee, more than welcome to stay and watch us put the show on, we'll say. All right, and I just will make an announcement, because not all three candidates are here. We made the decision that it wouldn't be fair to do the straw poll, so we are waiving the straw poll. In the wise words of an NFL rep, that penalty's declined. Yeah, we're gonna go into a recess for a couple of minutes, and we will come back, I'd say, no later than 7:45.
Okay. All right, thank you all.
If anyone's hungry, there's a vending machine out there, but I don't recommend.